Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Somebody Should Have Told Me podcast. I am your host, Miss Majesty, and I'm checking in first, okay? First things first, I'm checking in. This is our first episode back after Valentine's Day, okay? And I need you to let me know in the comments, did you make it? Did you survive? Are you alive? Are you okay? Check your pulse. Are the girls okay? Are the girls surviving? Are the girls thriving? Are the girls winning? What's going on with you? Anyways, I really meant to have an episode up prior to Valentine's Day. Fear not, many more are coming. But here we are nonetheless. And if you're here watching this, that means you made it, okay? And you're gonna be okay. I must say, I do enjoy a good pop out, okay? Because I think sometimes using social media, getting online every day, it can get very redundant very quickly. It can get very stale. You see the same five people in the same things, and it's just like, oh, girl. Plus, also, and I had noticed, like, prior to getting on TikTok, that I just felt like Instagram just wasn't the same. It just didn't have the same juice to it the way that it used to. And now that I'm on TikTok, so many people have literally just migrated over there. Like, if you're wondering where your Instagram friends are, they're on TikTok. Trust and believe. Like, and not even, first of all, content creators have gone that way for sure. But also, so content creators, influencers are a lot more on TikTok now than they were. I barely even see anyone go live on Instagram ever. Like, during the pandemic, Instagram Live was it, okay? 10 people on live, and whatever the case may be, people go on live every week, this, that, and the third. But now, even your everyday, just your homegirls, your homeboys, and them just be on TikTok, like making actual content, active, okay, video, commenting, all the things. And so I honestly have been enjoying my time over there as well. And I'd be like, oh, this is where people are. People like pop up on my FYP, and I'm like, I was wondering what happened to you. You done left Instagram and went to TikTok. I think that part is very interesting. Um, so nonetheless, social media can get very redundant, especially like amongst people when you're on there so frequently. Like, when you're on social multiple times a day, it could get a little flat. But I love a good dramatic announcement, if you will. I love seeing all the engagements. One of my friends that I'm trying to think how we met. I think we probably just met on social, and she popped out engaged. I did had no idea she was dating anyone. Those are the best ones, where it's just like, girl, what, where did he come from? I love it. It just puts the spice, back into social media. So shout out to everyone who popped out, okay, during the Valentines, who revealed their boo, who let us know that they had matching pajamas and Ben had that and came to it. I love that. Okay. Um, so anyways, yeah, I thought that was great. So what I wanted to do is I'm working on some things, okay? And if you follow me on social media, then okay, I'm working on some things. So the podcast is growing, okay? And with that, I started this podcast like in 2023. So it's not 3 years yet, like fully. I started it like probably October, November, maybe even December of 2023, even though I had like recorded prior to when I actually dropped. And so there are new people, right? And then there are also where some of the older episodes are a little packed down, if you will, okay? And while I prefer you go back and you binge watch everything I ever created on this podcast, I do know sometimes you got to bring people up to speed. So, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is see, it's the thing about podcasting is when you say something, you got to be sure it's what you want to say. You have to be sure that like this is what you're about to put out because once you say it, essentially there's no takebacks, okay? And the way I hit upload is just like don't even worry about editing, don't even worry about cutting and clipping and snipping. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, how can I say what I'm gonna say? Give me 2 seconds to think about it. Um, I have more that I want to say about purity culture. I am not done yet. I am not done speaking about it. Um, because I feel like I have more to offer. And so, what I do want to do is let you guys a little bit in on some of the incoming factors or influencing factors on my journey with purity culture, okay? And just kind of take a moment that okay, that's what I'm trying to say. If you're coming in, which many of you are, on so many different parts of my journey, okay? Like I have had so many iterations of my story that I've really been working on really bringing everybody together, okay? And I feel like it's important to connect the dots because there are times where I'm meeting new people and they're new to me and they feel like they can approach me a certain way and they're surprised when they find out they surely cannot. And it's like, if you would have known my community from this season of my life, they could have told you that, Um, and then there are people who I know from early on, whether it's childhood, early 20s, college, whatever the case may be, that are looking at me now that have made the investment to get to know this new version of me and where I am now. And so I am trying to bridge the gap between all of that. And so I don't just want to assume that everybody has been here since the beginning because that's the point of growth. And so, plus, also, and I took a good little minute to kind of be out of the way a little bit. And I feel like my life has been like a ship, okay? And I am trying to turn like a cruise level ship. And I feel like it has just taken me a while to kind of like turn the ship. I feel like I have not just been able to like bust a quick little Yui, okay? It's like it's taken a minute. And so with that, I kind of withdrew because it is so important to me to value my reality. I never want to jump out here and like give you something that isn't real and something that isn't sensitive authentic to who I am at my core. And so plus I'm different than even the version of me that started this podcast in 2023. Okay. I am so serious about my path. Um, I was able to start this podcast and share a lot of things from a place of rest. Okay. And so this is probably a good place to share this is that, so I am a PK raised in church. As I got into my, adult years, I left my mother's ministry and have had several other church experiences being members at other churches. And so sometimes when I am speaking to purity culture and my experience with it, a lot of that for me is all meshed together. So some of it is reflected in my childhood, some of it is reflected in my childhood church, some of it is reflected in my church experience that I had prior to my mom starting her own church. Some of that is reflected to my experiences as a pastor under my mother's ministry. Some of that is my reflective in other churches. Some of the things that I am speaking to reflects things that I've experienced as an itinerant minister. And so all of that just kind of gets housed under me saying church. things, right? And so I could experience some things either deeply or in different ways than many of you all have that have had experiences just kind of with Sunday morning and touch and go. That's not my life and that's not my story. And so for me, of course, growing up in a churchy upbringing, all of my aunts and uncles are ministers of the gospel. Everybody in my family is like saves, you know what I'm saying? So it's really no riffraff. I was just raised in the faith. My grandmother going to church with her, having experiences with multiple denominations. Every person of influence, a caretaker in my life that played a significant part of my life was saved. Okay. So churchy to my core and all of these things. And so along with my um upbringing of faith was a significant impartation of me that my impartation in itself is so churchy because why did I even have to say that? I feel like that wasn't even necessary. My mom really wanted me to learn entrepreneurship from a very young age. And so I started like business selling candy. Like my first business was like selling sandwiches and like flat soda, and I like not a lemonade stand, flat Coke, and some bologna sandwiches with mustard and no mayonnaise. And I remember sitting outside of my granny's front yard trying to sell my sandwiches, probably like one sandwich cut up into quarters, okay? And then I went on to sell candy as I was 9 years old. And then I went on to start my first successful business when I was 15 or 16 years old, which was Majesty Mime Academy. And I was teaching mime as an after school program, partnering with my city, teaching classes in the community, created my own, what is it called? Created my own after school program. I was the youngest contractor at that time to contract with the school district where I lived, and then the youngest contractor with the city to contract my business with the city to teach mime locally in my city where I used to live as well. So, all that to say, I have been a very serious person for a very long time. Okay. I started multiple businesses before I ever started working for anyone else. And so, one of the things that I was talking about in this reel that I posted was kind of that pivot. You think like success in entrepreneurship means you automatically know how to navigate corporate. And it was a bit of a learning curve for me. And so, I was just kind of touching on that in the reel that I posted. So, needless to say, I have been a very serious person for a very long time. Okay. My upbringing in the faith, I had very strong encounters with God from a very young age, have been able to hear from God for a very young age. And so, everything for me has always been so intense. Okay. Intense as an entrepreneur, school, that goes without saying, taking that seriously. Also, I was a wonderful reader. Okay, my mom had me at a very young age. She was determined to put me in private school, but also her being a younger mother, she was trying to finish her degree as well, and so she would take me to college with her. And so that helped me to learn how to read very well doing homework with my mom. So I actually skipped the first grade because I had such a high reading level that when I switched schools, I was able to test into the next grade. So everything in my life, I have always been ahead of my time, whether it's ministry, school, education, business, all of these things, I have always been advancing them. And so I really felt like God gave me a season of rest in 2020 and 2021. Okay. Now, 2020, the Lord was downloading, it was clicking, it was like, I was starting to feel like, okay, these are the things that I want to do. And I really want to not live my life just in this way of waiting till I get there. I really want to work on my ability to enjoy my journey. And so I started like making lists. Now, of course, we were still on lockdown back then, and so there really wasn't much I could do. 2021, about August, I was able to move to Houston. And y'all, a time was had, okay? A time was had where I was able to carry out all these ideals of the fun things that I wanted to do, to put expression to the changes that I had experienced in my conviction. And then also, um, I was making efforts to go to grad school and had been all throughout 2020 very intensely, like with no rest and no reprieve. And I put a complete stop to that in 2021 for like a solid year of no nothing. And then I started to kind of like gradually get back into the business side of things. And so I said all that to show you how intensely I've always lived. And I feel like 2021, I was about 28, 29 around that time, going into 30. That was my first time of just like chilling, just being, just like having fun. Like, so even in my time as a kid, I kind of wasn't just a kid, and I don't have any regrets sometimes because when I take into account um the entirety of my background, I needed the head start. You know what I'm saying? Like we was gonna have to start me at about 9 years old. Like we were gonna have to find my stride in business at about 15, so I needed that. And I think me learning to rest, reprieve, and enjoy, it's a lot easier for someone to like to be able to do that in reverse. Okay. So I think those skills are a lot easier. Essentially, it's easier to turn entrepreneurship off than it is to turn it on. Okay. So I am glad that I am not trying to figure out entrepreneurship at 30. I was trying to figure out how to turn it off. And I think because sometimes there are just journeys, and this is no shade to anyone wherever you are in your journey, but as you're moving through these things, you need some time, okay, to figure those things out. And so I can appreciate my own course. So, speaking to being a very serious person, listen, my family, we was in the Lord, okay? And we were ones to practice what we preach. And I talked about this in the first episode of this podcast ever for the one who stayed. And I think that I had a lot of my ideals wrong. And so even within my childhood, as it pertained to me being a kid, a lot of the messaging that I received in an attempt to have a biblical worldview, ideals around modesty, what it meant to be saved, what it meant to be set apart. I never went to my prom. I never went to any dance. Well, actually, I did get to go to one. It was the sock hop in second grade, or it was like, yeah, like second grade, or maybe it was fourth grade. Because I remember my teacher. Like fourth grade, I got to go to one dance, and I guess my mom felt like I went too boy crazy, and she never let me go back again. And so, if you see me in 2021, 2022, and you missed all of that context, you could think I'm one thing. And it all kind of goes together. Okay. The journey has to make sense. Okay. And I think that's something that I really want to do is connect the dots so that when I am creating these things that are solution focused when it comes to purity culture, you can understand why I'm saying things that I'm saying. And even since doing that, I feel like people have tried to interject their views into the conversation around purity culture, but you haven't fully lived it. And so it's like you're trying to position yourself as an authority figure on an experience you haven't had. And so I really want to make sure that as I'm creating this solution focused content and putting you amongst these ideals of how do you move through, that you are able to know all of my story. So it's like if you see me now, you might think I never struggled with these certain things, or you never think that I subscribe to the ideal of modesty. You never were there for the moments where I had to pivot. And I really did. And so I want to make sure that I open my heart for you guys to be able to see that piece, to know where I'm coming from when I'm saying the things that I'm saying. So when I do episodes like Church Girls in the Club, that is a lot of the background that I'm speaking to, is that some of these experiences that I'm having now, I did not even have as a child. Like a lot of things about my youth were absolutely not normal. Okay. And I have different ideals of how I would walk out being set apart now, okay, as a person who is 33 years old, than I would um, as a child growing up. So, notes. We thank God for notes. So, one of the things that is honorable mention is I never dated in school. Okay? Not elementary, not middle, not the ninth grade center at Spanaway, not high school, not college. I went on 0 dates. I did not go on, well, actually, I take that back. I went on 1 date. I didn't have my first date till I was 21. Oh my God. I did not have my I did not have my first date till I was 21. My mother was not having it, okay? Very much you can date when you get married, you know? And actually, one of my roommates from college brought this up to me behind the scenes after I started the pod. She and I were able to reconnect. And so when I first left for college, before going to undergrad to major in business management, I had went to seminary. And the Bible college that I went to was very conservative, purity culture central. Okay. Josh Harris had nothing on my Bible college, okay? And it was very much like no public displays of affection at that school. And even my undergrad that I transferred to for business, it was not that strict, but similar. It was a Christian school as well, so it was Christian values as well. And so my Bible college was like men on one side of the campus, women on the other, like very much separate. It was none of that men going over here. And so I didn't even realize, past beyond my upbringing, that those ideals still continued for me in college, which are early formative years in your adulthood. And I didn't really realize all of the purity culture conditioning that I had experienced until one of my friends had pointed this out to me behind the scenes. Because when I'm saying purity culture, in my mind, I am thinking about the marriage ceremony that I had to walk down the aisle in my little quinceañera dress and marry the Lord, and wear my purity ring that I continue to wear up until 2020. This went on way too long. Do you hear me? Way too long. But hey, I'm not mad. Just telling you what's going on, what has happened. Whew. So, and even as I was like making those little reels, um, not little, big reels, okay? As I was making my reels on social, I put like some old pictures from my teenage years, and I still have on my purity ring in all of them. So I'm trying to think. So how old was I? In 2020, I was probably like 24. No, I don't know. I probably didn't really take off my purity ring till I was about like 26-ish. Anyways, um, I this might be a lot for one episode, y'all. Okay? I was about to say something and I'm just like, it's so much nuts and bolts that I need to say. Okay? When I'm trying to tell you everything that had happened. And when I say not just purity culture, but heavy on the cult, because I look at all of these influences and where's the critical thinking? Because me not dating, so I had my first date when I was 21. Okay. I didn't date again until I was like 26. Why didn't I date? Because I thought the Lord was going to send me my husband and I was just supposed to know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember trying to, like, one time I tried to sneak, and here's the gag. One time I was in high school and I tried to like talk to this boy and I was like texting him, and my mom never used to check my phone because I was a very good kid, a very good girl. Like you never had to check my phone. Whatever happened this time, my mother checked my phone. And this is the problem that I have had with having a highly prophetic mother, because she never checked my phone before then or after then. She checked my phone one time in my life, and I was texting that young man. And that was it. And I never tried to like circumvent, I never tried to sneak again. I was mostly scared, you know. I just didn't think, I knew not to play with God. I also knew not to play with my mother. Now, I have a different way that I feel about navigating at a young age now. For me, I do anticipate letting my children date at a young age to be able to guide them, because I think all of those phases are necessary. But mind you, I've been so serious um, my entire life. And so I didn't date again till I was like 26. That date was not a good date. Like, I had tried online dating. I feel like we went, I think, only on one date. Yeah. And then when I, so, okay, so I'm gonna skip a little. We'll come back to that on another day. But by the time I moved to Houston, I had coaching. And by the time I had coaching, then it was up. Then I knew. Then I knew God was changing my story, if you will. Okay? Like, it was just so much better for me. Like, when I got to Houston and really started to allow myself to date, I started meeting people out in the wild. I was still dating online as well. And I had to figure out how to integrate dating into my life, because I am telling you, everything has always been so serious for me: school, spiritual, entrepreneurship, that I'm literally having to figure out in my 30s how to just be. How to just be a girl, how to just be cute, how to just be like, "Ooh, I like him." Okay? How to and not just be cute, be sexy. And then step into this, literally going from zero into a woman, like seriously having conversations about marriage, seriously having conversations about sex, seriously having conversations about sexual expectations with absolutely no warm up. It's a lot. You know, I will say it has been a lot. Thankfully, though, I do feel like I had the right guidance um, with my dating coach, by the time I did start to date, that I was a lot more empowered and everything like that, and to really feel like I had my footing and know what to do um, in that regard. So, um, I want to have a different story because I think there are women who were highly saved, highly spiritual, and who knew how to tap into the sensual side of themselves, the sexy side of themselves. And when it came time to church settings and communities of faith, they just didn't say anything about it. Of course, because no one wants to be deemed as promiscuous, as lustful, as idolizing marriage, because you can't, because a single woman can't say nothing about love without someone, but don't make it an idol. Shut up, please. It's called touch deprivation. It's called love. It's called a hug. Everybody that wants love is not lusting. Okay? So, anyways, I feel that there were women who knew how to tap into that side of themselves, but when it came to coming around me, they just got tight lipped. They didn't say nothing. And so that is a part of my mission with the Somebody Should Have Told Me podcast, is to not gatekeep, okay? The quiet parts that really need to be said out loud. Okay? Does anybody know what is going on around here? Does anybody know what's happening? I feel like we need to get together here and commune down to the podcast and have the conversations that need to be had with one another. So that's my heart, is to share with you, if you have grown up with such a tight grip, that now it's time to loosen the grip. Now it's time to integrate more balance into your life. That you are responsible enough to handle yourself well in these dating and social environments. I pray that this is a safe space, that you find a lot of value in that you feel respected as a woman, that you do not feel infantilized when you come to this space, and that you don't feel like someone is whispering and doesn't want you to hear the conversations that are necessary for your well-being and for your thriving. And it is extremely important for us to master this, to have these types of conversations now, because as millennial women, wherever you may fall in that space, we're about to be the new mothers. Okay, we're about to be it. So we are raising the next generation, and I think if we don't allow ourselves to repair, to grow, then we won't be able to give the next generation the tools that they have. So shocking how life can go back by so quickly, that it's like, wow, okay, it's time for to start pouring into the next generation. But I think this is the perfect time now more than ever to course correct. So there's so much more I want to say. Um, Funny enough, but I just wanted to talk to you about what my testimony is and where my passion comes from when I am talking about these things. Why did I pick purity culture? How has it impacted me? And of course, we have so much more to talk about. We could talk about the funds, the coins, the career, all these things. I love that. But what's on my heart heavy right now is a few more things that I want to talk about for the girls. Um, so yeah, if you have an experience with purity culture, let me know in the comments of this video. If you're watching on YouTube, Apple Podcast is about to roll out video podcast, and so I'm excited to see what that's going to look like. Definitely plan to use that, but let me know something in the comments. Did you share any purity culture experiences in the way that I have? Did you grow up as strict as me, or is it just me? Let me know. All right, until next time, this has been another episode of the Somebody Should Have Told Me podcast. I love you all.